Thanks for joining me for this edition of the Author's Corner, brought to you by KNEO 91.7 FM, The Word, and I'm Roberta Foster. Today, I welcome Marcie Gourley to Author's Corner, and she has written the book, 250 Great Things About America, Places, People, and Principles Worth Celebrating. It's published by Whitaker House, and she'll tell you more about how to find the book at the end of the program. Let me give you a little insight into her background. She's a licensed professional counselor with a master's degree in professional counseling. Her lifelong love of people, history, America, and faith began in childhood when her father introduced her and her sisters to historical sites and political events. Marcie has coordinated the Pennsylvania chapter of American Christian Fiction Writers and co-founded a women's ministry, contributing articles, radio spots, interviews, and speaking at various events. Marcie, thank you so much for joining us on Author's Corner.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Well, we know that in July of this year, we'll be celebrating our 250th birthday of America. So tell us about your book, 250 Great Things About America, and how you included so many things that celebrates all of America.
Wow, that's a big question.
Yes.
We're living in a culture that thrives on outrage. You know, everything that is outrageous sells, right? And I wanted to kind of sit back and stop the rushing past the remembrance that we have. And I wanted to offer something a little bit different. And as a licensed counselor, I kind of have a different outlook on some things than maybe other people do. I do understand the emotional toll of the constant noise and division and all the reaction and how it shapes how we see the world. I get it. And so I wanted to offer a counterbalance to all of that noise and to get us back to, we really do have so many great things about our country that are worth celebrating, so many great people and places, and even our founding principles are very worthy of celebrating. So I wanted to offer lanterns along a path. That's what I call it, lanterns. 250 very brief, great things, easy to read, great gift idea for people, and a way to celebrate our country.
Well, and as I'm looking at the table of contents, and the way you have them titled is America Is, and so most of the titles are actually adjectives. That is, if people in today's society even know what an adjective is, but anyway,
I don't hope so.
Yes, they're descriptive of what America is, not necessarily taking an event and highlighting that in your book.
Right. So we start out, the first few is world-changing, resilient, kind-hearted, overcomers, humble, devoted, self-governing. The reason why I chose to kind of title them with a positive word is because I know we've all heard something along the lines of, for every one negative thing we hear, we kind of need 10 positive things to counterbalance that. So this is my counterbalance. Good news is I came up with almost 500 things, and I had to whittle them back. It was really great. It was so much easier to do than I thought it was going to do. Now, it was a lot of work, don't get me wrong, but because I wanted to order it in a certain way. I wasn't actually sure if I should go chronological or to go by some kind of topical thing, but I ended up doing it sort of chronologically, mixed with places that are really great to visit, that I encourage, that are really important to me, that give me peace and give me just a chance to remember the beauty of and grace our country has been bestowed by our Creator, and so that is where I headed. So many great stories in there, and they're short enough that you can read them to your kids. Right. You can read one a day, just for a brief minute, and kind of just learn a little bit more every day, or remember a little bit more every day. So I hope that is a hopeful reflection of where we've come from and where we are now.
Well, and one of the things for someone like me who was not much of a history buff in school, and of course my school was 50 years ago. Oh, hello. But now I hear that in today's social studies or history classes in school, they don't hardly ever even go back very far in history to talk about this. So I could see where this book would be so helpful to even the young population of America today.
Absolutely. Not only going back to the history, but what we can glean from things that have happened throughout history, like how we can learn from it, and what we can get out of it, so that we can either repeat the things that worked and were great, or not repeat the things that we could have done a whole lot better through our country, and kind of where we need to get steered back to the Christian principles that we were founded upon. And so it's not. I'm going to say that it's not heavy. It might sound like it's kind of heavy on history, but it's more of a how we can glean beautiful words of hope and resilience and courage and to move forward. Because I'll just say this, it is every generation's responsibility to make sure our country remains free. And we have to teach that to the next generation. And if they're not getting taught all of this in school, they won't know what to do. So I think it's important to come back to that remembrance, and also to see it through the eyes of how God has shed his grace on us throughout the years, too.
Amen. Okay, so in your bio, we talked about how your father was an inspiration to you in learning to love things like history, America, as well as your faith. So talk about the role of faith in your book and why it was so important to you to include it.
So growing up, my father packed 4 daughters and his wife up and went to seminary at Liberty. So he became obviously a pastor, and he actually was a church planter. And so that really instilled a deep faith in myself and my family, and which I'm so grateful to have lived that life. And along the way, he was also a big, I will especially say, Civil War history buff. So living on the eastern side of America, we got a lot of stops along the way of basically remembering Civil War things and places and people. And it was such a blessing to learn, how our country was divided and healed. And he really nurtured the healing part as he taught us history. And I will never stop appreciating the lessons that I learned through all of that and learning about how to heal after division. And so that is what I want to pass on to other people.
And we'll find out more about this book in just a moment. I'm talking with Marcie Gourley regarding 250 Great Things About America. It's published by Whitaker House, and you're listening to Author's Corner. I'm Roberta Foster. Okay, so your book, 250 Great Things About America, also includes collection of readings, photos, quotes by other people. I really like the fact that, you have one of your adjectives is playful, and then you show some of a very old baseball game in action. There's pictures of historical documents, and so it's not just all words. There's lots of interesting pictures that will be very helpful to keep the curiosity of others going. So as you compile these 500 items that you talked about and whittled it down to 250, share with us a particular favorite that you have in the book.
Well, particular favorite of mine is Horatio Spafford.
Okay.
So I will say that story really, I have the on my living room wall the "It is well," quote. And just to go back through that story real quick, I do have that in there as a beacon of faith. I have a beacon of light, a beacon of hope, and a beacon of faith. Those are three that I kind of conglomerated together. And Horatio's story, he was a lawyer from Chicago who lost everything in the Great Chicago Fire. And he got his practice back in order, got his house back in order. He actually had 4 daughters, as a matter of fact, and just like my family. And he wanted, after they got all, kind of back in order, he wanted to go on vacation. He sent his wife and daughters on a ship to go to Europe, I believe, and he needed to stay behind to take care of some work in his attorney practice, and he was going to catch up with them later, and he gets a telegram that basically says, "I alone survived." And what had happened is the ship went down, and his 4 daughters drowned, and only his wife survived. So obviously, in a panic to get to his wife, he gets on another ship, and the captain of that ship shows him right about the spot where the ship goes down, and he's overcome with grief and just, can you just imagine the loneliness and the heartbreak and just not knowing how to even breathe, let alone go on. And this man sits down and writes, "When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul." And I think what a great picture of just the resilience that God instilled inside of us, and the courage to keep going, and that he's not done with us even when things seem so just overwhelming and dark. But his grace is sufficient, and he pours out grace upon grace. And I wanted to include that story because it is very important to me, because it's actually my father's favorite hymn, too, and a beautiful story.
Amen. Amen. All right. Well, we have time for just one more question. So as you were writing the book, what surprised you the most about America?
I think I answer this differently whenever anybody asks this question, because I'm constantly surprised. And, one thing I did not know is when the Brooklyn Bridge was being formed, was opening, actually, people were so afraid, they did not think it was going to hold. And they were so afraid to even step a foot on the Brooklyn Bridge. And you have to read the whole story, because actually a woman ended up taking over the engineering of it because of the illnesses of I believe it was her father-in-law and her husband.
Okay.
And she oversaw it. And anyway, people were so afraid of going across this bridge. Actually, Barnum of the circus fame had elephant cross the bridge to prove to people that it was safe. And so after that, it worked. It worked. We still have it today.
Yes.
And, people are no longer afraid to cross it, I think. But it's quite the story. So that one surprised me as I was coming across it. My son found the information about the elephants out, and he's like, "Mom," because I was in the middle of writing the rest of the story about the young lady who took over. And he goes, "Mom, no, don't you know elephants cross that?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't know." So I did some more research and put that in there. So that one surprised me, and it was just a cute little extra story in there.
Well, yeah, and how fun to have your family helping you do the research.
Oh, they definitely did. They had fun with it, too.
Good.
They sure did.
All righty. Well, today I've been talking with Marcie Gourley about her book, 250 Great Things About America. And I'm sure that as we get into those, there will be lots of surprises for the reader. So before you leave us, Marcie, tell our listeners how people can find out more about this book, and if you have a website or anything you want to direct people to.
Sure. I have a website, www.marciegourley, that's MARCIE Gourley, MarcieGourley.com. You can find this book on Amazon, of course, Barnes & Noble, Target, Walmart, great Christian bookstores. Wherever you find great books, it will be there, or you can order it from there through Whitaker House Publishing.
Well, great. Okay, the book, 250 Great Things About America, Places, People, and Principles Worth Celebrating. And it's been written by Marcie Gourley, and we certainly thank Whitaker House for giving us a copy of the book to talk about. Marcie, it's been a delight chatting with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for yours. I appreciate it. Had fun.
And to our listeners, if you missed any part of today's interview or would like to hear it again, think about how fun it would be to share this with somebody else that you know loves history or needs to love history. You can find it on your favorite podcast platform or through KNEO. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Roberta Foster on the Author's Corner. Join me again next time.